But there's a difference between going down like this and going like down like that, you know?
Is there?
Well, they have jets attached to them. So
Yeah, so the jets like
push them forward.
Push them forward. And as long as the force pushing them forward is higher than gravity.
It's like a fish swimming through water. Yes, gravity's pulling the fish down, but there's a certain force holding the fish up.
And how do boats work?
Shareholder value.
How do boats Fish are held up by shareholder value.
The only reason fish don't sink to the bottom of the ocean is their shareholder value.
What is up, people of the internet? Welcome back to another episode of the Waveform podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Marques.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm David.
This week, we've got Circle to Search on iOS. Nice. We've got Microsoft's Copilot event. Nice. And we're going to wrap it up with some Google apps being added to Rivian software. Nice.
Also nice.
But first, something not so nice.
The naughty list.
I'm already on with the segues. OpenAI and Scarlett Johansson. Where do we even start with this?
We can start with last
watching
episode.
the movie.
We can start with, I was going to say, we can start with that movie you guys still haven't watched.
I still haven't watched her,
Wow.
I have not either.
but I now understand the references.
Actually, I wouldn't have understood this whole article or fun if you guys didn't explain it
Guys,
to
this
us.
movie
So,
formed my entire personality. If you want to understand me
Do you want to break down what happened?
in the
in
movie.
her?
No.
No, yeah. No spoilers.
The news
Oh.
regarding the Scarlett Johansson Association.
I think Andrew should break this down.
I'll break it
He was a
down.
little more plugged in last night than I was.
This is also perfect because I didn't watch the Microsoft event, so you guys can explain that to me later. But Scarlett Johansson, we talked about last week how she was in a movie called Her, which has a lot to do with AI. We saw Sam Altman tweeting her right before their ChatGPT O event last week, and
Not tweeting Scarlett, tweeting the word her.
tweeting the word "her" in reference to the movie that Scarlett Johansson is in.
Yeah.
Not
then
just in, but like
Voices
was
AI
the
assistant.
voice
the
of
like
the
main
AI.
voice, like literally as closely connected to what
Samantha.
Yeah. So then they come out with the event, and there's a voice in ChatGPT called Sky, which sounds apparently very similar to her voice. I can't be the judge of that because I've never seen the movie and I haven't watched a bunch of Scarlett Johansson stuff. I don't know if it sounds
Everyone seems
that
to
much
agree
like
it
her.
sounds like Scarlett Johansson's voice from the movie.
And part of that is in her story. So Scarlett Johansson responded to this voice, the Sky voice, by putting out a statement saying that about 9 months ago, Sam Altman, or maybe a year ago or so, Sam Altman reached out and asked her to hire her to be the voice of the ChatGPT system. She declined. Then again, right before this newer one was released, she contacted her, or Sam Altman contacted her again, asking her to reconsider. She declined. Then ChatGPT gets released with this new Sky voice that sounds just like her, to the point where she only found out about it because her friends and family messaged her saying, "This sounds so much like you. Did you do this?" To which then she was not happy because they basically used her likeness. I will say, OpenAI has claimed that it is not her voice and that it was never intended to resemble her.
Of course.
They claim they casted the voice. They casted the voice actor before Sky's voice, before they outreached to her at all. And out of respect for her, they've paused using that voice in the products currently. But I think the problem here is the mounting evidence against
that
them.
tweet is not looking good for you, Sam.
Sorry,
bro.
I think if he doesn't tweet and Scarlett Johansson never comes out with being asked to be the voice, they get away with this. And it's just this like little joke. I don't know why you want to make this joke. From everything I've heard, the movie doesn't put AI in a very good.
It's not a necessarily bad light. It's like, it's kind of this like retro futuristic world and everything's kind of nice. But then at the end of the movie, without spoilers, the kind of theme of the movie is, actual real human in-person connection is more important than a chatbot, even if a chatbot can like emulate having a real relationship with you.
Yeah, the deeper he gets in his relationship with Samantha, the more actually like cripplingly sad his own life gets.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cool voice to model your brand new big feature after.
Big tech for some reason has an obsession with like recreating things in movies that are extremely dystopian, go terribly wrong. I don't know if we talked about the Bumble thing last week, but Bumble is trying to like They're literally trying to create a service on Bumble where you create like your own chatbot modeled after your personality, and it dates other people's chatbots.
Oh no!
To try to match you to people who the
So
chatbots.
you don't
work
even
with.
have to do the talking?
Yeah. So this is literally a Black Mirror episode in which this is the whole point of the episode, and this happens in the episode. And I don't really know why all of these tech companies are like, let's take this thing that's supposed to be a warning and it's very dystopian and it's trying to say, don't do this, and try to exactly make it happen.
Instagram got halfway there with like creators can enable like an AI that's sort of trained to represent them to answer
You mean the funny guy?
DMs to answer DMs from fans.
Which is also extremely dystopian.
Right, but it's only halfway there because it's
Right.
real fans talking to an AI that says it's an AI, but it's also trying to kind of act like me.
Yeah.
But two different AIs talking to each other is hilarious.
Yeah.
And then you probably get like an AI summary of your AI's conversation with the other AI to see if you want to date that person.
Oh, God, I hate it.
Insane.
I hate it.
We did get a bunch of comments last week saying to make ChatGPT-O talk to Gemini and see what their conversation would entail.
That would be interesting.
It would be pretty fun.
Yeah, it's kind of like when people had Google Assistant talk to Siri way back in the day.
Or like when you used to call Domino's and Papa John's and put them on the phone with each other.
Or it's like when Samantha admits to Theodore that she
No,
kinda
don't
enjoys.
spoilers, no spoilers.
It's like 11 years old.
I don't.
So?
Don't
That's
spoil it. I think a lot of people are watching this movie for the first time know this.
That is a good point. There's probably a chance that some people just heard about it from our episode.
Yeah,
And
fair
then maybe are going to watch
I
it.
was
You have
seven
2
out of
weeks.
time,
You have 2 weeks, and then the
2
spoilers
weeks
are
and then
coming.
full spoiler episode.
Yeah. So I will say the voice, as soon as OpenAI released the voice model and the ability to talk to ChatGPT, which was like a year ago, it was quite a while ago, the voice already kind of resembled Scarlett Johansson's. But I think people are just now starting to like realize it because one, it's getting more like attention and hype, and people didn't really use the voice model as much before.
Yeah.
And two, in her, Samantha, which is the AI assistant's voice, is very like, oh, Theodore, what can I do to help you? She's like very flirty and very like kind of like cute and
Human.
human. And the new 4.0 update makes the assistants a lot more human-like and flirty.
The inflection makes
inflection.
it seem way more
Definitely.
similar.
Yeah.
It's also Scarlett Johansson kept calling it 4.0, which is just kind of, I think, proof that GPT 4.0 is a
terrible name.
confusing name. Because that's not what it is.
Letter O, not for number O.
Make sure it's lowercase too.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm just reading the OpenAI statement, and it just seems like both things can't be true. They start by saying it was never intended to resemble Scarlett Johansson's voice. But then right after that, they say, out of respect for Ms. Johansson, we've paused using the voice. Well, why? If it was never intended to represent her in any way.
They're being the bigger person here.
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? I think like all the evidence beforehand, like again, if this comes out and it just semi resembles them and there's not them reaching out twice showing how much they want her to be the voice,
Yeah.
and Sam tweeting her directly before, like the evidence is against you. There's nothing you can do to prove that this wasn't that.
Aged like milk.
It totally aged like milk, and it's just because they wanted the funny laugh, and they're gonna get the funny laugh in court now. And
There
that'll
are
be it.
so many tech CEOs that have just tweeted things that ended up being terrible for them. It's like, guys, just don't tweet. You could just not tweet.
No,
But
I
then they're
prefer
not
they
funny.
keep tweeting.
Yeah.
It is
We need
Way
more content.
entertaining.
It's more entertaining.
I would like them to keep tweeting.
Did you see there was a meme going around of
Mira Morarty.
Mira doing the face when they asked her about if they rip YouTube content for and then she was just making that face and was like, did you use the voice of Scarlett Johansson for
Also,
Pretty funny.
immediately after 4.0 came out, one of the audience people asked, like, was this modeled after Scarlett Johansson? She was like, that's really funny. A couple people have asked that recently, and we've never, like, thought about that before. We've never heard of that before. And it's like, if Scarlett Johansson's story is true, then yes, you have. Unless Sam Altman didn't tell anybody on his team
It's good media
what he was
There's
doing.
no way.
It's good media training.
You know that saying where it's like never
Never blame
Yeah.
on like intentional meanness what you could just blame on
attribute
to incompetence.
Thank you.
Right.
Nobody, you can just in a simple world assume that they didn't mean to do what they did.
Sure.
I think this is not one of those
This
cases.
I agree.
Yeah. Also, if it's true that they reached out to Scarlett Johansson and then Mira specifically said, "What is this? We've never seen this before," that just makes me think they absolutely trained on YouTube data. Like it's already been fairly clear considering how like roundabout they've been being like, we got to train our model. When they're asked the question of if they train on YouTube data, they just work around the question, which means yes. But now it's like definitely yes.
To be fair, they say this is a voice actress. So my guess is they picked someone who sounds, I don't know if you were saying,
No.
They're not training, they didn't use her voice from content.
No, I'm not saying training the voice on YouTube data. I'm saying training the multimodal AI system on YouTube data.
I just want to make that
which is the
clear.
big question that everyone's been asking them for the last few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this just felt like they knew they didn't have the permission and they tried to skirt it by anyways. And maybe threw a couple meme too close to the sun. And
Well, it's interesting because there's multiple outcomes here. There's the outcome in which they did hire a voice actress, did try to hire someone that sounded just like Scarlett Johansson. There's also the option where they literally scraped like her voice from a bunch of movies and created a model and just tweaked it slightly so it wasn't quite her voice.
I think
we don't know.
That would be super hard to prove.
Yeah.
We'll see what any of this is proving, but
There would have to be like a litigation. They'd have to do like discovery to be able to know that.
Yeah. It felt like they were trying to do it and not get caught.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that they made it so similar that Scarlett Johansson's family reached out to her is what bit them in the ass.
Well, like what we
here.
were saying this morning, it's like if you ask someone permission and they say no, and you are simultaneously trying to be the biggest AI assistant in the world,
They were going to find out.
Yeah.
they're going to find out. You can't just assume that Scarlett Johansson will never hear this voice.
Like think about this. You're OpenAI and you're one of the biggest companies in the world, and your goal is to make an assistant that everybody in the world wants to like and use, and you tweet like cleverly her in all lowercase just to play it up, just because like it's kind of a thing. Everyone's like already. There's no way you then
We didn't think
don't
she'd
expect
find out.
Scarlett Johansson to ever find out about this.
Sam Altman needs to print a picture of that tweet and hang it next to whatever computer he tweets from.
Yeah.
As
a
reminder to just type it out and press the X button. Feels just as good, and then you don't find yourself in a pile of later.
Yeah.
Fun fact, in the movie, Scarlett Johansson was cast after it was pretty much shot and edited. It was a different actress doing the voice for the whole
Imagine
movie.
they found the other actress.
That would be amazing.
That would be crazy.
Impressive, yeah.
One more thing, though, before we switch away from OpenAI is they also announced that they partnered with Reddit. So now OpenAI can scrape Reddit data to use it for their model. What do you call that? Library? Model?
Yeah.
For the large language model?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
If I was worried about AIs hallucinating, I think the last place I would want my AI to scrape data from is Reddit comments. Because if you use Reddit, you know that it is
The funny
simultaneously the best place to look for things and
Yeah.
also the toxic hellscape
Yeah.
of the internet.
The funny thing is, even if it's not hallucinating and just making stuff up, it's also potentially going to be wrong just because a lot of people on Reddit just say things.
Yeah, it's interesting because it depends on what you want to use it for. If I was looking for like answers to factual questions, I wouldn't think this would help at all.
No.
But if you wanted to be really creative and think of insane, random, off the wall stories, like I'm sure this is great for that.
Well, I think that also they just need more data to train what natural human language looks like.
Yeah, and there's an insane amount of humans making typos and like talking about experiences they've had and all sorts of stuff in Reddit comments.
A bunch of different types of words.
And the good thing about Reddit data is it has context kind of built in already based on subreddits and stuff.
I guess it's like I feel like the reason Reddit is a great place to try and look at something you're looking for is just you get to use the context of what you already know and then get to use a comment based on replies and upvotes. Like that's a great way to be like, oh, this one has a lot of upvotes. A lot of people agree with it. And also here's a few counterpoints under it. Can it use that context? I doubt it.
Well, I would love to talk to a model trained on the highest upvoted and then a model trained on the most downvoted and see how different they talk.
Yeah.
That would be a great video.
Yeah.
I don't think they're necessarily trying to like pull information from Reddit. I think they're just trying to add to the model because there was a bunch of stories that came out a couple weeks ago that a lot of these companies ran out of words to train on. Like they basically scraped the entire internet. And so now they ran out of words. And there's a few companies that are looking into training models on other models' output because they just generate output. And then they're like, well, we need more. We need more. And
more input.
You know, there's multiple camps for this. And I am not an AI engineer, so maybe it's okay. But personally, I feel like every time you start making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, it just loses relevance and starts
Just
getting
export
worse.
that JPEG over.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Pretty much.
10x
It's pretty much
JPEG
the same-
export, yeah.
Exactly. It's pretty much the
Re-uploading
same
a video
thing.
1,000 times.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
When you say words, do you mean tokens?
I know we're not going down this route.
No. We did get that wrong last week.
wasn't-
We said
It was
tokens.
not wrong. It was maybe
Worded
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did say
Maybe not
a
worded.
token is the smallest bit of discrete information that a transformer model can process. But we also said in a language model, it's often words, which is not true. It can be prefixes and suffixes and itty bitty bits of words.
I still really. There was a lot of people also saying how Google did a poor job at explaining how much 2
2 million.
million tokens was as context, and I agree because I still don't.
I think the
I
only
can't grasp-
people-
That's why I asked last week.
There are a lot of people in the comments saying like that. This is awesome. Like this is huge news, and I was like, wow. I didn't get that from that at all. And maybe I'm a moron, but like I feel like I'm in this space enough where I should understand the grasp of that, and I didn't.
The reason a 2 million token context window is awesome, besides the fact that you can put 37 Cheesecake Factory menus in there.
96.
96, even better.
Dude, someone left the funniest comment yesterday where they were like, Ellis just was laughing at Google for saying 96 cheesecake menus as like a unit of measurement, but then went as far to say 1/20th of an inch instead of 1.27 millimeters.
We don't do those millimeters here. We don't do those.
What? No, we live in America. Come on. No, the reason that a 2 million token context window is good is because, like, the bigger your context window you can have, you could put a full book into, well, not a full book with, you know, a small novel, maybe. You could put that into Gemini and then ask it questions, and then you have all the context of the entire thing.
Is there a representation? This is where I could have used a graph, not a Cheesecake Factory menu graph. I'll also, before we stop talking about Reddit, I also just have to say Steve Huffman, because this is just more proof that Reddit only cares about making as much money as possible.
Well, they're a public
Now that
company.
they're IPO.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Add them to the list.
Contractually obligated.
Steve
Shareholder
does
value,
not care
baby.
about any Reddit users. He only cares about money, and I hate him for ruining that website. And the app still sucks. It's actually worse.
Yeah,
I
it was
think.
so bad.
It's horrible.
Somehow Relay still works for me.
Well, Relay now
Do you pay for
is
it?
a paid.
Oh, you pay for. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because
They found a way to still actually recoup and pay for it and use the API tokens, but I guess a lot of other ones it was like not able for them to do it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just want to bring up these two articles real quick.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
I brought
yeah.
this up vaguely last week, but there's this awesome Wired article called "I'm once again asking our tech overlords to watch the whole movie" about her, which is very funny because, like we were talking about, just like a lot of these tech CEOs just try to create the things that in the movie it says explicitly or maybe implicitly to not create, and then they just do it anyway.
Kind of like how Apple recreated the Ready Player One intro scene for the Vision Pro.
Yeah, it's like that's a total hellscape. Yeah,
Just saying.
Yeah, just saying. And then there's
I forgot they did that. That's so
there was this tweet by Alex Blenchman, sci-fi author
From 3 years ago, too.
from 3 years ago. Sci-fi author. In my book, I invented the Torment Nexus as a cautionary tale. Tech company. At long last, we have created the Torment Nexus from classic sci-fi novel Don't Create the Torment Nexus. Speaking of Nexus, which
Speaking
was a
of-
Google phone, and
Google-
therefore, speaking of Google,
And Chrome.
Speaking of terrible segues,
And
Circle to Search coming to iOS.
Nice.
I got to cut us off eventually.
yeah,
There's been so many people asking us to stop that.
yeah. I'm sorry,
I'm
guys.
sorry. We apologize. But we're gonna keep doing it.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely no one for my segues. I'm going to keep trying.
You can't get better if you don't practice.
Yeah, you don't get good at these. Do you want great segues? You think I'm just gonna like come up with them off the top of my head? No, I gotta practice.
I will
You
say
get to-
we're not getting better, but
I need to fail forward and in public to get good at
Maybe it's writing. I need to write these outlines with better connections between them.
like option segues for like the previous article. Here are some segue options. Yeah, Circle the
speaking
Search.
of terrible segues.
Circle the Search is apparently coming to Chrome in iOS. So
Got to read the headline. Circle to Search on iOS.
yeah,
Now we got you listening.
sounds nice, but it's just in Chrome. I mean, it's a Google product, so they're like bringing this cool Circle to Search is awesome, and I still use it every day on my S24 Ultra. But like, it's a nice feature. And iPhones don't have it.
I've been loving Circle Search. As someone who loves Google Lens on my camera, and I know you could do it before, but Circle Search is so much easier just in context in the apps that you're using. I use it all the time.
I think this will be Sherlocked in a month when Apple has WWDC. It probably has some sort of contextual.
I'm
like,
really
page
looking
stuff.
forward to WWDC.
Me too, dude.
There's a lot of stuff coming that we assume is coming at WWDC that is really like things we've been looking forward to for a long time that make a meaningful difference to products that we use.
Yeah.
And hopefully products that we're not using, like Siri, that hopefully can get really good.
Yeah.
This sounds like a conversation that happens before a really boring WWDC.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Dude, they're supposed to have RCS.
Everything about this year screams, this is a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see.
And we'll also see like what's going to be new for Vision Pro
Yeah.
because,
And the Apple Car.
right.
If we do get Circle to Search on iOS, it's gonna only work in Safari.
We don't
Well, it's going to be Siri based, probably, if it's like,
circle the search.
right? Like it's going to be on phone and nothing
like
that has to
in
do with
OS?
Google at all.
Yeah.
No, I know. I think they'll put it in Safari.
You think they'll put something like that in
No,
Safari?
it's not gonna-
I
no,
think
it's
it'll
gonna be like
all over the
on
OS.
device.
It's going to be OS based.
the,
not
re-
Safari
the
based.
reason Circle
We'll see.
Search is so good on Android phones is because it's not only in your browser.
Yeah.
It's in like Instagram,
Gallery,
and TikTok, and YouTube,
Twitter.
and everything. Like,
Yeah.
that's what makes it good. I almost feel like the times I'm actually searching on Google on my phone or in Chrome is so little.
Yeah.
And then like most of the time I'm like clicking a link through a different app or now Circle to Search is finding that thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I hadn't thought of? How is that going to potentially screw over affiliate links in video content? Like if you put an affiliate link to a charger that we have, or even do an ad spot for like Anchor, and now instead of clicking the link on the bottom,
circle
I guess
it.
we don't do affiliate links like
That's
that
a great
often,
question,
but-
Andrew, and we're thinking deeply about the answers to that.
yeah.
That was Sundar's answer.
Part of the reason it's worked out well in the past is because we've thought really deeply about how to do it right.
Yeah. Did you watch the Sundar interview?
Dude.
Yeah.
Wait,
it was
which
pretty
one?
bad.
Okay, shout out to, if you haven't already, Nilay Patel from The Verge interviewed on the Decoder podcast Sundar Pichai, CEO of Alphabet and Google.
Yeah.
They talked about a bunch of AI at the top of search related things, and Nilay had a lot of valid points about like, okay, you're driving a lot less traffic to these websites now. Like the whole model of the internet is like people search for things and then go to the websites from search and drive a lot of traffic through Google. And what if that just stops because you've just given people the answers at the top? And so many of Sundar's answers were like, we think a lot about this, and turns out the incentives will work out. Like things are just gonna work the way they should. Like I didn't really get a lot of concrete evidence other than him assuring us that click-through rates are actually higher for links in AI summaries.
Which
You should watch
There's
that full
zero
interview.
chance I believe that.
There's a full video version. You should watch it. It's on YouTube.
I need to go watch that.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It was good. The thing that Sundar kept saying was like, oh, in the past, we've mostly seen that the thing that's good for the end consumer is what ends up winning out. So the consumer wins. And it's like, cool. We're not really talking about the consumer here. We're talking about the people that make the content. And it's like, yes, it is true that probably consumers would rather have a generated web page that has a potentially hallucinated answer on it.
Yeah.
And then maybe 1% of them will click the links and go look at the website. And look, I agree. The modern web kind of sucks. Like if you go to any website, there's just ads everywhere. It's slow
Accept
loading
all your
times.
cookies.
Accept all your cookies because of GDPR. It's like annoying. I get it. However, if we cut off the hose that makes the content and these AIs are still hallucinating things, and there was a part in the interview too where Sundar like subtly said like the hallucination problem is kind of a feature and not a bug.
Oh, I heard that, and I heard what he was trying to say.
I know, me too.
But it
me too.
didn't.
I don't want to gotcha him, but
Yeah.
he basically
Gotcha.
said
He leaned into the meme of that saying, I think.
he basically said like it's still a problem that is inherent to Transformers and we can't really change it. But the benefit is if you're trying to be creative, it allows for more creativity, which is like technically true, but doesn't solve the underlying issue that makes all of these AI systems feel too unreliable
They still
to
have
rely
a
on.
truth problem where it's like if you just want it to be creative, that is one version of a tool for AI where the Transformers are really good at being creative and coming up with things. But if you're Google and you're trying to give people factual answers to queries, that's a different use of AI that it is not as good at. So it's a feature over here and it's a bug over here.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to break it down to the fundamentals. Like you've solved it for this fun questions to Gemini, give me a story, write me a speech type thing, but it's not solved for give me answers to questions on the internet.
Which feels way more detrimental to the population.
It's a very important
couple
problem
quirky
to solve.
stories.
The Neil interview was very good. He pushed back on Sundar a lot, and this is the most frustrated I've ever seen Sundar get, which Sundar is also one of the chillest dudes I've ever seen in my life.
Is this visual? Because I listened to it in the car, so I didn't watch
Oh, no,
it.
I was running next to David while listening to it. We were both on a treadmill, and he's just like looking over my arm, running on the treadmill, watching the facial expression.
Yeah,
of
Sundar like gets visibly like frustrated and uncomfortable, but he's still Sundar Pichai, so he's still like the most relaxed guy in the world. If he was more like Elon, he would have just ended the interview because he was that close. Like there was a point in which he said, which Nilay said something, and Sundar just goes, "That is so far from the truth."
Wow.
So far from the truth.
far from reality.
Reality.
I have to see this.
That's a strong
good. Definitely go listen.
Sundar
Worth watching.
statement.
It was interesting because Nilay specifically called out there was in the Google ad, as we have seen in many of these generative AI ads, where they'll just get something wrong. There was a point where they asked, like, how do I fix my film camera that's jammed? And Nilay pointed out that one of the things it said was to open the film camera and adjust the film, which ruins all of the film. There's some weird like nuance there because the bullet point right before it said press the rewind button if there is one. And technically, if you rewind your film, you can then open the film camera and then get the film out. But because it was in bullet point format as like a number of different things you can try and not necessarily like an ordered list. And so Nilay brought that up to Sundar, and Sundar was like, I ran this by some film photography experts, and they said it was fine. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of just...
That was their film photographer AI model. That confirmed. Yeah.
It was kind of like semantically based. And so, yeah, if it was like, do this and then do this and then do this, if it was rewind the film and then open the camera, it would make sense. But because it was bullet point based, there is kind of an issue there.
That's a legitimate problem, though. Is like
sure.
semantics matter, and like
yeah, I agree.
you can completely screw something up in that situation if you don't correctly list things out. I don't know. I would argue, just to go back on, you said how like this new AI search they're saying is better for the consumers. I've had it on my phone recently, and I think it makes searching more annoying lately. Because now I search, the window pops up, and then I also get this. It takes up the whole first part of the screen that's just like AI initiating and like figuring it all out. And then the best part is it gives me an answer. I scroll down and there's still those little boxes of like frequently asked questions. And you click one and it's like the exact same answer.
Yeah.
But this one on the bottom was loaded already.
It's super bloated. And then you don't get any links unless you scroll down really far.
Yeah, I want to opt out of the redesign.
There is,
and just use old Google search.
Well, there is that new button web search now that you can press and it gets rid of all the Google widgets.
Default it.
Yeah.
I would love to default that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird world. But anyway, shout out to that interview. You should go watch that interview.
Yeah, there's another. I haven't gotten to watch this video, but it's a creator I like a lot named Hippio and he just did a video called "It's Not Just You, Google Sucks Now," and it's Google has a big problem and about how Google search has just completely changed recently. I probably should watch it before I recommend it, but I like all of. I like his content, and he's usually it's a great video or great title, good creator.
Okay.
Hopefully a good video.
A lot of trust in this one.
Yeah. I just want to bring up
just like,
really quick with the circle to search on iPhone thing on Chrome. This is like very clearly Google trying to protect Chrome's market share because there's a lot of like they have slowly been losing like a little bit of market share for Chrome, and I think they're starting to panic about it. And especially on iOS, like yes, you can only really do this in Chrome on iOS. You could also probably do it in the Google app. which is the app that they now have Gemini in for some reason.
There was someone, sorry, just to interrupt you. There's someone saying there is a weird way to shortcut this with Google Assistants to do something like circle to search on iOS. So there is a hacky way of doing
Right,
it.
there was like
apparently
it takes a
before this.
screenshot and then it uses Google Lens to analyze the screenshot, and then it pulls up a Google search based on your Google Lens query, and it's like a automated.
Some people do
thing.
some crazy things, but sorry, continue.
No, basically that. I just think that they're like kind of worried about Chrome, and they're just like trying to protect their market share, which they have like 86% market share, so it's not.
But it used to be 90.
It used to be higher, so yeah.
Do you think this is enough of a feature for people to use Chrome over Safari on iOS?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
I don't use an iPhone, but I'm assuming most people just use Safari on iPhone as their web browser.
Yep.
And I don't think this is changing that.
Yeah.
Especially like you
I
said,
don't use
when
Safari.
DubDub probably will have a feature basically exactly like this that's on device.
Yeah.
And actually being able to look at the
Yeah,
screen.
then it's like, why do you need to use it?
No point.
Yeah, so. All right. I think that's a pretty good place to take it to break.
That's
but
a good break spot.
First, we should.
But naturally, as we do when we take breaks, typically there's also a trivia question.
I'm not sorry.
All right. So it is clear AI is the talk of the town. Has been this week, was last week, was the week before. It's the theme of the year.
Until it
AI,
talks about itself.
It's everywhere. So, in that spirit, what component sits between the ink supply pump and the ceramic crystal in an inkjet printer? I'm just kidding. That's not the actual trivia question this week. But if you know
knew
the
that one.
answer,
Paper.
no.
The ink supply pump.
The actual trivia question is, the first ever industrial robot named Unimate worked at a General Motors production line in what U.S. state?
It's going to be a trick question
How could it be a trick question?
because
It could be Washington,
state.
D.C., which isn't a state.
Okay, it's not Washington, D.C.
no, that's not what I was going
It's
for.
not Puerto Rico, also not a state. It's not Guam. It is a territorial.
It's not Pennsylvania, which I don't consider a state.
All right. Well, Andrew doesn't get the
It's in
point.
the United 50 states, right?
In fact, I'll it's not in Hawaii or Alaska.
Okay,
I'll
so the
even-
continental U.S.
Indeed.
Cool.
Do you know there's people who they see the map with like Hawaii and Alaska off to the side and they think those are two islands next to each other?
They're not.
I do know.
I've met multiple people, grown-ups,
No.
who still kind of thought that.
I have a family member who was shocked to find out that Alaska is not, in fact, an island. And I couldn't
Shut up.
even be mad. I was like, he was like, it's right next to Hawaii on the map. And I was
ju-
like,
but
Max, you
it's
know,
the
like-
funniest part of it is just thinking of the climates of both of them. And like the photos you see of Hawaii are like the beach and the jungle and waterfalls and volcanoes. And then
polar bears.
Alaska is like grizzly bears and snow and elk and like snowy mountains. And
That would be a hell of an
But
island.
that's it. It'd be a sick island.
If Hawaii were cold, it would probably kind of look like Alaska.
If it had all the
If
animals.
my grandmother had a bike.
Yeah, if my grandmother had wheels, she would be a bus.
No, I'm just it's got mountains. You know what I mean? There's a lot of topographical activity.
Has a mountain.
And
It is a mountain.
And they both
a mountain.
they both have
Arguably.
they both have dense forests and
Yeah.
California could also be described by this.
that is true.
Wait, have you never seen that video that if my grandmother had wheels, she would be a bike?
Oh my god.
It's the
We're
best
going
video.
to take a quick break
Yeah.
and then show David that video.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
All right.
Support for this episode of Waveform comes from Shopify. Every business is ultimately trying to do the same thing. Sell more products to more people. It's one of those essential goals that's simple but not easy, because getting from your first 100 sales to your first 100,000 sales requires a lot of hard work, a little luck, and a ton of resources you can rely on. Resources like Shopify. Shopify is a global commerce platform that can help your business grow no matter what stage you're at. The platform makes it easier than ever to sell everywhere, combining a class-leading e-commerce platform with an adaptable in-person point-of-sale system. According to Shopify, they can help convert more browsers into buyers with a checkout process that performs 36% better than comparable commerce platforms. And when you factor in Shopify Magic, the platform's AI-powered helper, you can expect to sell more with less effort. So more than 10% of all e-commerce companies in the US have turned to Shopify to power their growth. See why for yourself today. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/waveform. So go to shopify.com/waveform now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/waveform.
All right, welcome back. On Monday of this week, there was a very long, interesting Microsoft event in which they announced Copilot plus PCs. It was like kind of a Microsoft event, kind of a Surface event, kind of an AI event. They had a lot of different things that they announced there. They also announced a bunch of OEM laptops, mostly because they're moving towards the age of the AI PC, as they call it. Mostly that just means that they're repackaging Windows 11 with a ton of built-in AI features. And to enable that, they need a chipset that can actually push those features forward.
Wait, Windows 11?
Yeah, which in this case is the Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite and X Plus processors, which were announced last October at Qualcomm Tech Summit in Hawaii. So we're finally getting those.
Well, yeah, we've talked about Windows 11.
I thought
You just said
yeah, I agree. I just figured new version of Windows, but I guess that's kind of not very often. So.
I mean, originally they were saying Windows 10 was going to be the last version of Windows, and then randomly they're like 11.
I like 11 a lot.
No,
Yeah, me
11's
too.
great.
11's
I just
great.
figured,
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, they're just going to go, hey, it's Windows 11 again, but this time with Copilot.
Right.
I feel like they know that every couple Windows updates, they hit the bad one.
Yeah.
So they're really worried about
It's alternating.
that.
Yeah, I know. We got it.
Not-
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it does alternate.
Is it alternate? 10 and 11 were both great.
I don't think people like 11.
Really?
No.
I like 11.
That's
Actually, I don't even use 11 at home, but I liked 11. I use it on my old laptop. It was nice.
Vista was
I like
bad.
11 a lot.
Vista was
or
terrible.
maybe 11's a good one. No, people
8
like
was
10.
terrible.
Yeah, because
Yeah, it was
7
8.1.
Seven
Well,
was
good.
fine.
8.1
7 was
was good.
great.
8 was bad.
It was XP was good. Vista was terrible. 7 was good. 8 was horrible.
8.1
Exactly.
8.1 was good.
Yeah, but I think it already had the sour taste in everyone's
Yeah,
mouth. That it's just like 8 as a whole sucks.
8
because-
was when they were trying to make Windows Mobile happen, and instead of trying to make
tiles.
Windows Mobile look more like the computer, they tried to make the computer look more like the phone.
It was always so funny when you had to go to the tile that was your desktop, like, and just be like, never let me see this again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then 10, great. Mostly because it wasn't 8, but also 10 was good. And now I like 11.
Yeah, so they kind of broke the curse.
They broke the curse.
Yeah, 'cause
but
10
now they really don't want to push it for the next
Yeah,
one.
fair enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
11 forever.
I want to give some context on this whole like shifting over to ARM PCs thing.
Thank you, because you were trying to explain this to me yesterday, and I need a full explanation.
Okay, yeah. So these new Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite processors, not the first time Microsoft and Qualcomm have tried to make ARM-based computers. Famously, they tried to make it in 2019 when they released this new computer called the Surface Pro X, which was an ARM-based Windows on ARM. It's gonna happen this time, guys, for real, for real.
I want it to be good.
And they co-branded a processor with Qualcomm that they called the Microsoft SQ1. Around that time, Qualcomm had released the Qualcomm 8CX processor, which is an awful name and was made for Windows on ARM computers. However, at the time, nobody really wanted to sign on to Windows on ARM, specifically because it sucked.
Good reason.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Qualcomm made like a lot of fanfare about the fact that their emulator, their like Rosetta-esque translator emulator was like really good, really efficient. The problem was that it only worked with 32-bit x86 Intel-based applications. And at that point in time, most professional applications had moved to 64-bit. So you had this problem where like only super old apps were working on this translator. So you could use like the default Microsoft apps on the Surface Pro X kind of worked, and that was good. But if you tried to use like anything else that you download from the internet, it just wouldn't run. Games usually just wouldn't run. If you could get them to run, the emulation would be so slow that it was basically unplayable. Extremely expensive computer. It was a lot better. It was like they made the design a lot better. They streamlined the bezels. They made it look really nice. It was good hardware. but considering it was an ARM-based PC, the battery life was like pretty bad. And there was just no reason why you should buy a Surface Pro X over an Intel-based Surface Pro at the time.
You mean it was bad for an ARM PC,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
The Surface Pro X was also that like tablet-y.
It was a Surface. Yeah, so the Surface Pro has always been the tablet that has the attachable keyboard.
Okay.
And so they made the Surface Pro X, which was their attempt at Windows on ARM.
I remember seeing this at Microsoft that year.
But nobody was invested in Windows on ARM, and I'm not sure if it was because it just sucked or what, but like none of the OEMs wanted to get involved in it. And so you pretty much only really saw like the Surface Pro X and maybe like one or two other computers come out. So that was their first run in 2016. And then Apple did M1.
2019, I think.
2019,
right?
sorry. Yeah, 2019, not 2016. And then Apple released M1 and has just been totally smoking them for like so many years now that they're finally like, okay, guys, we really, really, really need to actually make this happen.
Guys, like for real this time.
For real this time. For real.
This whole M chip thing is like pretty good over there. We should probably do something about it.
I think this just showcases like the difference between vertical integration and being someone like Microsoft / Qualcomm / Asus / ASRock, who is like all trying to work together to make something that works, versus Apple, who just makes everything themselves. Like, it's cool. I love the idea of separation and having all these different companies like come together because then you have choice. You have a lot of choice, but it makes it very hard to make these things work.
There's clearly pros and cons of both situations.
Yes. So anyway, on Monday, they held an event in Richmond that, again, was like part Surface event because they did announce a new Surface Pro, which I think they just called the new Surface Pro, which is funny. And then also a new Surface laptop in 2 different sizes. And these are primarily going to be ARM-based computers that run on the new Snapdragon X Plus and Snapdragon X Elite, which in a lot of synthetic benchmarks are eclipsing M3. And I actually went to a Qualcomm event like a month ago in which they showed me all of these benchmarks, and they were specifically comparing it to M3. And it was before M4 dropped on the iPad.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole reason that Apple put out M4 in its most basal form on the iPad, is just because they knew that Qualcomm was going to compare X Elite to all the M4 stuff or M3 stuff. And the X Elite processors are specifically geared towards AI because they have 45 flop NPUs, which the M4...
How many tokens is
Those
that?
are words that mean things to me.
Yeah.
They have a more powerful neural engine.
Yeah, their neural engine. Yeah, exactly. So like the Qualcomm neural engines are really, really beefed up. And I think that's exactly what Microsoft wants specifically too, because all of these features that are coming to Windows 11, and Satya is always like, we've entered the age of the AI PC. It's mostly based on that neural engine. So yeah, now that M4 is out, M4 also has way beefier neural engines. It's just we don't really know what it can do yet because Apple hasn't had the developer conference in which they release features.
Oh, we know
use
what
the
it can
neural
do.
engine.
It can take pictures of documents and remove shadows.
That was actually the thing I was the most excited about, to be honest.
It can do stem splits.
It can
pretty
stem
awesome.
split, which is kind of cool. Yeah, but like, I don't know. I want to see what it actually does on computers. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Microsoft's event was basically to like really showcase the X Elite and X Plus processors that are coming out. It was an OEM based event, so we got new laptops from Acer, Asus, Lenovo, Dell, HP, and they announced some new features in Windows 11 that are AI focused. The biggest one that most people are talking about is a feature called a recall.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
Which is interesting. I've heard from some sources that the internal name for this was Total Recall, which is very funny and kind of a nod to that movie. But this feature is basically, it takes snapshots of your screen every 5 seconds when there is something different on your screen, and it stores that in a cache. And then
That's a lot of smarts, but also a lot of data.
yes,
I looked at you.
that's perfect. And it uses all of those snapshots as contextual understanding of like what you're doing, what that page or window or whatever is, so that if you, I don't know, you were texting your friend or emailing your friend the other day, like, oh, what's that barbecue spot you like? And you don't remember the answer, you ask the recall feature, bring up the email where I was talking to Jessica about that barbecue spot, and then it brings it up because it has this like list of things that you've been doing on your computer for a long period of time.
Yeah.
This is sort of the dream of what we want an AI assistant to be in a lot of ways, because it's just like it knows everything that you've been doing, and therefore you can really use it to help you.
Yeah, it's like a superpower.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting feature. I want to get one of these laptops in to actually test and see how useful it actually is. They're saying that all of the snapshots are encrypted and stored locally on your computer and never go to the cloud. Hopefully it doesn't come out that they're training their LLMs on it. I don't think it will, but we'll see. Also, they give you a lot of control over it, so you can turn off Recall's ability to scrape apps on an app-by-app basis if you want. So you can say, never read my Gmail app, or never read Edge or whatever. And you can also just turn it off entirely if you want, but it is opt-out, so there's that. And Copilot is also getting more deeply integrated into Windows 11, like providing suggestions in the settings menu. It can edit files in File Explorer for you. And they're also...
Wait, can I butt in? Sorry, yes. I don't want to go too far away from Recall, because the first thing I thought about this was when I used to do IT and being like, I wish every person in this office had Recall, so when they could say like, I don't know what happened, the screen just went blank, or this happened, I could be like, sure you didn't, and then type in the thing that I told everyone not to do and watch them probably do that and break the computer by themselves.
My dad always says that. My dad is like, the computer just decided to do this itself, and I was like, no, Dad, that's not how computers work.
This wouldn't help that, but one time one of my bosses was like, the screen just went blank, and I came in and I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, he was like, I was just writing an email, and I looked down under his desk and the computer was like sideways on the ground, and I was like, do you usually keep it like laying down like that so you don't knock it over? And he's like, oh no, it's usually what?
Like how David does?
It was like a tower, but some people did on their desk put it like that. And he was like, oh no, it's usually standing up. And I was like,
so you kicked it in the face?
I was like,
got it.
So it probably got knocked over, huh? He's like, yeah, I guess. And then I put it back up and plugged it in the back. He's like, whoa, thanks, man. And I was like, holy.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think this is a super interesting feature, assuming people aren't too creeped out by it. Yeah.
People are pretty creeped out.
That's a big assumption.
That's a big assumption. Yeah. I would like to see if it's actually useful, though. Because, like, I don't know. There's a lot of AI features that come out that are, like, in this very explicitly specific instance, it could be useful. But this is something that's sort of just, like, there. And if you ever have a question, you could look it up. And I feel like that's kind of nice.
This is how I could see it is it comes on. There's people who are going to opt out because they think it's creepy. And then they're going to hit a scenario where they're like,
dang,
I wish I had
really
that on.
good. Yeah.
I really could have used that. And then I bet they turn it on.
Yeah.
What is that scenario, though? Because for me, it's looking for memes that we talk about. Do I really want this turned on to find the meme we spoke about last week?
I mean, like, find a deleted tweet that you saw and you're like, oh, that was really funny, but now it's deleted, or like...
I didn't even think of that. That's
the worst thing about Threads is that when you open Threads and you like instinctively go to refresh it, but then you see the first thread on the page and you're like, oh wait, I'm kind of interested in that, and then it refreshes the whole thing and you're like,
that happens on Twitter also.
You will never see that ever again.
What's Twitter?
That's... Or, I mean, I've had YouTube also where something's been on the recommended page on the front, and like, as I'm clicking refresh, I'm like, wait, what was that one? And I'll never find that video ever again.
Yeah, Recall.
Recall.
Yeah.
It solves all the terrible social media UX designs.
You could literally be like, what was that fire post that I just missed while I refreshed? And like, oh, you meant this one.
Yeah. So I'm very interested in how Intel responds to all this, because Intel is just like an aging company that, like, Qualcomm and ARM were always going to be the future, right? Like, obviously phones got faster and had better battery life, and that's obviously what we eventually wanted for computers, and Apple did it and it worked. And so now Microsoft and all of their OEMs are like, all right, we're really, really putting our best foot forward this time, and this is actually going to be the future. And it is nice to see that a lot of OEMs are actually making a bunch of laptops that are X Elite powered, because last time it was pretty much just Microsoft, and the one laptop they released for it sucked. So
these laptops look sick.
They look good.
I want like 5 of them.
Yeah.
The Surface laptops? Or?
Yeah. So we can talk
Those
about
included?
the new updates. There's a new Surface Pro, which again, they're just kind of calling the Surface Pro. It's the first time they've put an OLED panel in the Surface Pro as an option, although the OLED panel does add $500, which is quite a lot. But it is available with the...
Wait, no. But you also get the upgraded chip with that $500.
Yeah, you get
too.
the XLE version.
Oh, so it's not only
It's
a
not
$500
just-
upgrade.
Sorry,
Okay.
Yeah,
True. Dave.
Okay. Yeah, there's the X Pro chip and the X Elite chip. The X Elite chip is a lot more powerful. So it's nice to get the OLED in there. And then they also announced a new Surface Flex keyboard. So prior, the Surface Pros were like, they would be a tablet and you would attach this keyboard that was also kind of like a folio. We've seen that happen in every tablet known to man at this point. But the keyboard had to be attached to the computer in order for you to use it as a keyboard. Now you can wirelessly use it when you take it off of the tablet, which is kind of nice.
That's one of those things that felt like it should have just been happening the whole time.
Yeah,
but
they never had a battery in the keyboard. It was just
Okay.
powered by the pins.
I also like that the keyboard, it looks like there's an Alcantara version, and I kind of miss the old Surface laptops that had that
The
option.
Alcantara,
Yeah.
Yeah, the Alcantara was nice.
I have a question, David.
Sure.
About the Surface Pro. So, is the Snapdragon X Elite a like sort of unified platform in the same way that Apple's ARM platform is, where the memory and the storage and the motherboard and the graphics processor are all like on one
Yeah,
board?
I believe so.
Okay. Then, assuming that is true, you can only put 16 gigs of RAM in this thing, which makes it not a very pro device. Do you have the super fast does it seem like we'll get the super fast memory swap on this that renders RAM a little bit less useful? Or is this another Microsoft product that they're calling a pro product and then just expecting people to go make a sandwich? while their
Microsoft Pro
computer
products
gets a
have
task?
literally never been pro products, almost ever. The Surface Pro series has never been fast.
Yeah.
So, it's more about the flexibility, I guess.
I'd forgotten all about I knew they had some sort of tablet, but I forgot it was called the Pro. So when you said Surface Pro before, I just assumed it was like, I just always think it's just like the nicer laptop 7 or whatever.
It's the
but
tablet
like the
that has the touchable.
I'm super excited about this thing. As someone who at home uses their Asus ZenBook Fold and really enjoys it, this just seems like a better version of that. But without, like, what am I supposed to do with 16 gigabytes of I can floss my teeth with 16 gigabytes of RAM. You know what I mean? That's nothing.
This says 32 gigs.
I'm specking one out right now, and the highest option is...
Do you have X Elite?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me double check all this.
Okay. Well, that
3
new
Chrome tabs.
The new Surface Flex keyboard is very cool. However, it is $350, which is the same price as the Apple 13-inch iPad Magic Keyboard.
I was wrong. You can't
Which-
spec it up to 32 gigs.
Okay,
Adam
13.
was
Good.
right.
Okay, cool.
My bad.
floss your teeth with that.
But
Yeah.
again, the Surface Pros have never been like
Yeah.
pro devices.
Also, just saying, the second highest tier option is called Dune.
Instant.
isn't
buy.
that just the color?
Oh, I'm...
Misinformation king over here?
I'm off the podcast.
Wait, also, I've got a thing up right here that says Surface Pro Flex keyboard with slim pen, $449.
Is that because you're getting it with the pen? Is there a way
Is
to
it? Is
buy
the
separately
pen-
without the pen?
Like $90.
Or maybe if you buy it with the computer. It's
I keep
cheaper.
also reading this as slime pen, and it's so much more interesting than
450
slim
is
pen.
insane. Yeah.
That's a lot.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of money. And I just got to say, both to Apple and Microsoft, stop charging $350 for
Andrew,
a
let's be
keyboard
real. You've
folio.
spent more on keyboards.
Do you know how sick
but
of a
that's
keyboard I could
not
build
the
for
same
$450?
Yeah, that's true.
It's not the same thing.
Maybe
Like,
I should do a short of
crap.
that.
This is extortion.
Like, how much keyboard can you get?
Especially
wanna build-
considering on the Surface Pro, you can barely use that as a computer without one of the keyboards. You kind of need it. And
But
you can
that's
get
also
the cheaper,
true about
older
the
one.
iPad. But it's like
Yeah,
the iPad Pro. It's literally called the Pro, but like most people.
but the iPad
need-
is also focused around using it as like a touchscreen tablet device. And like adding the keyboard is sort of like, I want to make this a computer now. Whereas a Microsoft tablet,
is not as useful.
Windows is not that useful as a tablet. It's just, they try to make it that way, but it's just not.
It's mouse and keyboard first.
yeah.
I have to say they do a good job at showing some examples of where this now new wireless keyboard would be like nice. One of them is in here he has like the tablet on a coffee table with the kickstand and he's using it on his lap, but like that would be awesome on a plane because now I have it on the thing, but I'm not the one typing my keyboard, making the guy's seat in front of you, like shaking, put in your lap. And then he also has this cool situation where he has the tablet semi-propped up using the stylus, but then he still has the keyboard to the left with his left hand to do shortcut keys.
That's cool.
I bet Tim would find that pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Except it's Windows.
Yeah.
I figured it out. As of on the pre-order page, you could only pre-order it with 32 gigs of RAM if you choose the platinum color.
The Pro Platinum.
The most boring color.
Yeah, otherwise if you choose sapphire, black, or dune.
Why is this? We were just talking about this with Apple. If you get the Pro versions of thing, you get boring colors.
Yep. It's because those are the most popular colors by far. But I do...
Because you don't offer us better colors
Mystic
anymore.
Bronze.
Mystic.
That's an old one. Okay.
Callback.
Okay. In the laptop, we also have a new Surface laptop, and there are two sizes, which is nice. They made the smaller size slightly bigger. It's now 13.8 inches, and there's also a 15-inch. Also, both OLED. Both 600 nits.
Not tandem.
Not tandem. Starts at 16 gigs of RAM with 256 gigs of storage, $999. I also want to say, in order to use Recall, you have to have 50 gigabytes of storage available.
Okay.
Which, if you buy the 256 gigabyte model, that means you only really have
200
which is
gigs.
kind of less than, probably less than 200 because the OS takes up storage. You're probably only really going to have like 150 gigs. Now, the benefit of the Surface laptop is that there's a slot, and I think on the Surface Pro as well, there's a slot on the back where you can swap out the memory extremely easily. You can add in memory just on the back of the computer.
Memory or storage?
Storage. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. Storage, not RAM. Sorry.
That's good because I floss my teeth with 150.
I don't even know how that analogy would work, but
You know what I mean?
Such a
it's so thin. It's so thin that you could.
it's like nothing.
It's nothing. It's
nothing.
It's worthless. It's
150
like I
gigs?
wake up and I blow my nose and 16 gigs of RAM is coming right out.
One thing really cool that I think is also worth pointing out, Dave 2D pointed it out in his video, is the bottom of the screen now is rounded. So
Yes.
all four edges are rounded. And I never noticed that. And now I can't not see that on my MacBook.
Yeah, I was about to say
it's
that
not rounded
the
at the
MacBook
bottom.
is rounded at the tops, but on the bottom it's not.
I
It's
never noticed. And now
is
it
this?
bothers me so much.
This is
so you don't notice it as much on the MacBook because most of the apps round the corners on the bottom, and then the dock makes it so the app isn't full screen unless you're using full screen mode.
But it's a lie.
But you just don't notice. But yeah,
What background am I using? They're darker on the bottom, so it's harder to see.
the backgrounds are always darker on the bottom.
Apple
so it's
designers,
harder. Yeah,
they know what they're doing.
They've been hiding
They've
those.
It's like
hiding
when the notch
notches.
first came out. Yeah, when the iPhone
They still do it.
Yeah, when the iPhone 10 first came out with the notch, they
Dark at the
intentionally
top.
made the wallpaper's gradient to darkness.
Notch or Dynamic Island?
Well,
It was a notch there.
It
Well,
was
now they still kind of like creatively hide the dynamic island with darker colors, but they are a little bit less
They're more
direct about it.
It's like a feature now, so they want to show it off. It's
little
the
bit.
discerning difference in
Yeah.
the
Like
new
AI
iPhone.
is hallucinating.
yeah,
It's a feature.
not a bug.
Enjoy it.
So the laptop for me is a lot more interesting than the Surface Pro in this scenario because they actually upgraded like a lot of things on the laptop that is very nice. They now have a haptic touchpad, very similar to the MacBooks. So it's kind of the same thing where there's not actually a physical button, but it's a motor that presses back on you. I'm very interested in seeing if that's comparable to the MacBook's touchpad. It's probably about the same, which is pretty cool. There are now two USB-C and one USB-A, whereas prior I believe it was one USB-C and one USB-A. And then they have the Surface Connect charger on the right. And they're saying that it can get up to 22 hours of video playback, which is pretty comparable with the MacBooks.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And this is kind of their big move to try to unseat the MacBook Air as the most popular computer in the world, basically. Because the MacBook Air just sells like hotcakes because everything about it is incredible.
Yeah, it's already. I mean, like I loved my Surface laptop. I don't remember which one it was because all of them look exactly the same, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's a really sleek, nice looking laptop. I love traveling with it. It was small. It's way easier to carry around than this thing.
Yeah.
The problem, it will never beat the MacBook Air, but that's not of its own fault. It's that Windows has a million competitors. It's just like why one Android phone is never going to beat an iPhone. it's like there's way too many different ones to pick from and different price points. Where if you just want a Mac
Careful, Andrew, careful.
You just mean in pure sales.
and pure sales,
Yeah. I think it's
Oh yeah. Sorry, that's what I.
it's
yeah.
semi-comparable to the Pixel because Google makes Android just like Microsoft makes Windows, and then they have a flagship device that they want to show off that OS on.
And I don't think normal people care about that.
I agree.
And they do their best as far as vertical integration, but it's never quite as complete full stack as like Apple's top to bottom
Right.
thing.
Well,
Right.
this was my question to you yesterday, David, because I also think the Surface line is very similar to the Pixel line, and Google eventually started making Tensor, their own chip. And
Yeah.
I was asking if you think Microsoft will eventually make
Well,
their
they
own chip.
tried to make their own chip with the SQ1, which was like a custom design chip with Qualcomm, which is basically exactly what Google did with Tensor because Samsung actually made the chip for them, but they designed it. So it was similar where like Microsoft had a lot of input in the design of the processor for the co-branded chip, the SQ1. I could see them eventually doing that just because they're investing so much in AI that I could see them being like, we want our own chip that Qualcomm will manufacture, but we will like design
I'm sure
specifically.
every major tech company is basically like, we would like to make our own chip.
Yeah,
At some
I mean,
point.
OpenAI is trying to make their own chip, so yeah, which is
Him.
crazy. Him.
Timothy.
That's a great. Yeah. They also made the Surface laptops a little bit thicker in the middle so that they could put the Snapdragon X Elite chip, the best one, in it. So now when you buy a Surface laptop, you get like the fastest new ARM-based processor that there is. Okay, theoretically, these X Elite processors are extremely good at emulation, have extremely good battery life, and can run everything. Hopefully, they took their blunders from last time and actually made a translator that is just as good as Rosetta. They say it's just as good as Rosetta too. So I really, really am interested in like trying to play games on this thing, right? Because if you want to play Valorant on this, like it's an ARM-based computer, can it emulate it well? You know, like on my MacBook Pro, I play Dota 2 and I get 144 FPS out of it. Now that is compiled natively for Linux and for Mac, which is cool. But it's going to be interesting when it sits emulating.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a pretty big event that had like a lot of stuff in it. I think the big things were the new chips, recall, and the refreshed computers. And there's also a bunch of computers from all those other OEMs. So there's a lot of articles online if you want to go check out those other laptops as well.
I think it's like comparing these. I know everyone wants to be like, this is the MacBook killer, the MacBook Air, like this is going to be better than the MacBook Air. But I feel like Microsoft mostly should just want to take over the Windows segment of laptops. Like they are also competing against Dell and HP and all of their other partners, which I guess they still, are making money off them if they're
Probably more money off them.
Yeah, you
possibly
don't want to
more
piss them
money.
off.
That's a good point. But like if they want to be the laptop of Windows, like that feels like the better.
Well, they have the same issue that Google has, right? They make Android and they rely on other manufacturers, especially in countries where Pixel is not that popular.
But also want to beat them.
Yeah.
Or
It's
even
like a
available.
weird-
A lot of people always tweeted us and stuff saying that
Right.
Pixels aren't even available in a lot of
Right,
countries.
totally. Yeah. And so I think that's why they're like available on Pixel only for 3 months. And then everyone gets it because they want they want these other OEMs to be incentivized to still make phones and not turn out like HTC or LG
And that
stop
may-
making devices.
Yeah, and that may also a little bit be to avoid the little antitrusty stuff where you can't just. I mean, you can, but you'll get sued if you just build a whole bunch of things only for yourself.
Right.
Kind of like the way Apple has, like with the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like Google makes most of its money on Google Play services, and that just means the more Android devices you have in the wild, the more money you're going to make no matter who makes it. So that's the reason that they haven't really cared about the Pixel that much until fairly recently. And now I think the only reason they're really caring about the Pixel is because the iPhone market share is just skyrocketing so much. So
Yeah, I think Microsoft's doing a great job with all these laptops, and it's not just the laptops they're putting out, but in that sense of like being the easier to recommend laptop, they're going into Best Buy stores and making really good displays that are simple. These laptops look really nice. They are like the same company making the operating system and the actual computer, and like they're making it just seem way friendlier. And I don't know. I've always liked the Surface stuff, even though I switched to a MacBook.
I got to say the Sapphire and the Dune colors are really good looking. They're really nice. And honestly, it's like it's just exciting to have a viable Windows option now, because the only use case in buying a Windows computer in the past has been like, one, if you need one for work because you run certain applications that only run on Windows. Two, you need backwards compatibility with old Windows stuff, which is a lot of people. And three, I'm trying to remember the third one.
You're a rebel.
You're a rebel.
You want to use your
gaming computers, because you want like a really good GPU, and also because most games are Windows and or Linux only, and generally Windows only.
And DirectX is backward compatible all the way, baby.
Yeah, DirectX.
If you want to be like me and use your Surface laptop at the Apple event,
Yeah,
it's always a fun one. And be the only one who got Wi-Fi that one time, so that was also fun.
True rebel.
If you want Wi-Fi at an Apple event,
yeah.
get a Surface laptop.
I gotta say, I am extremely lucky that the only video game that I play is natively available on Mac, because otherwise I would really need a Windows computer. I don't know. I gotta say, like, it's really nice that outside of those use cases, you can now like think about buying a Windows. Because like we were saying earlier, I really like Windows 11. And it runs a lot of things really well. And they also partnered with a bunch of very popular application makers like Adobe. A bunch of Adobe apps are now natively compiled for ARM64. DaVinci Resolve is now natively compiled for ARM64. CapCut's now compiled for ARM64. And Resolve has a lot of AI features in it now. And they showed me some demos when I was at that Qualcomm event the other day. And it processes those AI, like it's like AI tracking and like masking and stuff in real time, and it's really, really fast.
Nice.
I imagine once M4 and M4 Pro and M4 Max come to these laptops and they have all of these AI features, they're probably also going to accelerate those kind of tasks in things like tracking in Final Cut. It's just cool. And also having Windows computers have good battery life finally is really nice.
I think it's funny that your example was maybe you need it for work, when mine's the exact opposite. As my work computer is my Mac stuff, and I was running a Windows laptop and a Windows computer at home, but
You're
now
a huge
that
gamer too, so that's why.
I mean the laptop not playing games on it, but I just like Windows better.
Yeah, me too.
The fact that though this is just my work computer and that I can take it home, it's just easier to do everything on the same computer. That's going to translate to when it's at work, but I like Windows.
Yeah.
Team Windows.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Yeah, and having a bunch of computers that are actually good is going to be like really great.
Yeah.
Who'da thunk it?
So I'm really, really hoping that it doesn't turn out like the 8CX scenario. I don't think it will, but we'll have to see. So big event, big news. I guess we should take it to the trivia question.
Lots of good names. Lots of good names.
Good names.
I'm sarcastic. X-Elite. Name.
Yeah.
Branding, baby.
Snapchat.
All right, next question. What do the record player, bubble wrap, the Unix operating system, and condensed soup, which is soup with almost all the water removed, all have in common?
It's definitely not something
Can
physical.
Can you put those four things on like a screen so we can just see them?
Later.
This is more like
For when we answer it
Okay,
later.
yeah.
This is more like a New York Times word game than it is trivia.
Listen, New York Times is like basically a gaming company now.
No,
so.
keep doing this, and then maybe they'll buy it from us and
True.
put it in their app for a subscription.
7 figures. All right. We'll be back.
Support for this show comes from Netsuite. Here's some math you won't need a calculator for. If your business is spending less on operations, that means there's more money that your business gets to keep. With Netsuite, you can cut some of those extra costs so you can feel good about looking at your balance sheet. Netsuite is a top-rated cloud financial system bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one platform and one source of truth. So with NetSuite, you reduce IT costs because NetSuite lives in the cloud with no hardware required, accessed from anywhere. You can cut the cost of maintaining multiple systems because you've got one unified business management suite. You can improve efficiency by bringing all your major business processes into one platform, slashing manual tasks and errors. Over 37,000 companies have already made the move. Do the math. Get to the support you need for your business with NetSuite. By popular demand, NetSuite has extended its one-of-a-kind flexible financing program for a few more weeks. So head to netsuite.com/waveform, netsuite.com/waveform, netsuite.com/waveform. All right, last little bit we got to talk about here. Rivian software update for their cars. They're going to be pushing a software update that allows the YouTube app and Google Cast in R1T and R1S, which I think is pretty cool. We've talked for a long time about all these EVs and how they get software updates, and ideally they get better over time. So this is one of those features that they're adding. And it's particularly cool in an electric car because you may spend more time sitting in it parked because it's probably charging. And so you can watch YouTube videos or cast some videos. Maybe you want to watch some live stream or something, maybe Twitch, I don't know. You can Google Cast to the screen in front of you in the Rivian.
This is one of those things, you nailed, where it's only cool because it's an EV and because you actually might be sitting parked for a prolonged amount of time, where watching a YouTube video could be a great distraction when you're charging.
These EVs all have big screens and might as well use them.
While you're charging, it's way better than looking on your phone. Casting is a great thing also, though. At first, you're like, well, if it's going to have the YouTube app, who cares about casting? But there's plenty of other apps that aren't in there. Twitch, things you can do, stuff like that. You can even cast your gallery things onto the screen if you wanted to. Maybe that could be something interesting. But having updates in software and EVs are really cool because you can add things later to them, which is awesome. Hopefully there aren't any companies out there that want to take apps away from us, because that would be terrible.
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous.
Did you see that Tesla's taking Steam out of?
What?
Nice.
My Cyberpunk on my Model S Plaid.
So apparently a bunch of people previously in 2022, they added an option to the infotainment system on Model S and X where you could have Steam on your infotainment system because they had 16 gigs of RAM and a dedicated GPU. I believe that's the difference on why you could start doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not deep in the Tesla culture.
I thought it was just I guess what I thought, and this could be totally wrong, so ignore me if I'm wrong. But I thought it was that the computer that they use to drive the UI on the screen and to power the self-driving happened to also be powerful enough to run games if you're not driving. Is that...
I don't know if that's explicitly the reason, but I know that they did use an NVIDIA GPU that was powerful enough to play The Witcher and Cyberpunk.
I thought it was because that was powerful enough to run all of the input signal processing for full self-driving, because Tesla, famously minimal and cost cutting, would not just put $1,000 GPU in the car for funsies.
For sure.
For the lulz? You don't think Elon would put something in for the
not
memes?
if it costs
It definitely wasn't just to play
point.
games on.
right. So I pictured it as
for other
a
functions.
fun consequence of having a powerful computer in the car. For other functions, it can also play some games.
Yeah.
Cool. But apparently they don't need that specific computer anymore, and the one they're using now doesn't have the same ability to play these Steam games, so they're just taking Steam out.
That's crazy.
There was people who have reservations for the S and the X that saw in the features that Steam will not be available anymore. And then I saw something about people saying that their Cybertrucks that they own now does not have Steam support.
The operating system is not rated to handle what Steam requires.
Well, so somebody...
I have Steam.
There's an article here that says the Cybertruck did not receive a dedicated graphics processing unit, and many people are noting that they don't have access to Steam on their Foundation series, and that it also only has 8 gigs of RAM. So it seems like a lesser... That's what the Model 3 and the Model Y use, right?
I don't know, but I wouldn't be shocked. It has the same single screen in the middle, so it feels like it could be the same.
Okay, so maybe it's not as powerful as the old S and X, and it seems like potentially... It seems like the new S and X are getting this less powerful version, which won't have Steam, which, again, is only something that's really interesting when you're sitting and possibly charging for 20, 30 plus minutes.
If you're waiting for, I don't know, you're waiting outside the school to pick up your kid or something.
Just playing Cyberpunk or Cuphead, freaking out. How much road rage would that induce of just being really mad you died in Dark Souls?
Because you get to freak out in the game and then go back to... living life.
No, then you're all amped up because now you're like, well, now I'm not sitting here long enough. I need to beat this Dark Souls boss. And now you're driving as fast as possible home.
So are they taking Steam off of existing cars who had it?
I don't believe so, because they still have the hardware that can run it.
But they could just disable it in software. But they're not going to do that, right?
I have not seen anything about that. It seems more like a update in the reservations where, let's see, it says, this is somebody's reservation order, and it says Tesla's making the following changes. There's something about Tesla Vision. And then there's a part at the bottom that says gaming features. Tesla's updating the gaming computer in your Model X, and your vehicle is no longer capable of playing Steam games. All other entertainment and app functionalities are unaffected.
Wow.
So all 12 of you who are going to get this car specifically because you could play Steam games, you're going to have to look elsewhere. Sorry.
Elon memed about this.
That's
for
the
a
problem.
long
It's just
time.
like it felt like a big, almost not selling point, but definitely a feature that was in it that was like advertised and like applauded. It was like play Cyberpunk, and there were so many videos of people playing Cuphead like in their Tesla as being this really cool thing.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's one of those gimmicks that
It's a gimmick for
it
sure.
was on
It
the
makes more sense.
website and it was talked about, but not a single real person actually bought the car because of that.
No, but I'm sure there's people who bought the car who were excited about it.
yeah.
And I bet there's people who made a reservation excited about it, and now their car is not going to.
Also,
have it.
there's like that. There's
And it
like
won't change their order. They'll still order.
accessory trays that allow you to like put like a mouse and keyboard on there. And if I could play Dota in my car while waiting for it to charge, that'd be pretty sick.
It would.
You need
you
faster
can.
internet though.
I mean,
That-
you can with your like iPad that you have already, or
You can't
any-
play Dota on an iPad.
Your Surface Pro.
Yeah.
You should
laptop.
Yeah.
when someone's playing really poorly, like your teammate is one of your like toxic insults. Like, what are you playing this at a supercharger right now?
Yeah.
It is now.
I'm trying to think of like an equivalent feature that it's on the same level of for Teslas, like fart mode, where you can like program
This is-
your horn to be a whoopee cushion.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if they took that away, it would technically be taking away a feature. And I'm sure like 12 people who are really excited about it would be mad, but
I think you're underestimating how many times people are sitting at superchargers and want something to do, and like being able to play a game makes that so much
I
more
lived that
entertaining.
life, and I saw a lot of people at superchargers, and they just had their phone out, and I'm like sitting next to dozens of other cars capable of doing cool things on the screen,
Yeah.
watching YouTube, watching Netflix, watching
think this
Twitch.
is a
Nobody's
cool-
doing it. They're
I've
all
never
watching on
seen
their
someone
phone.
do it, but I think it's cool you can.
Yeah, it's cool. You can.
I bet a lot of people do it that have it.
I thought they already removed whoopee cushion mode. Like now you can only use it in park. If you're driving with a custom horn, it reverts to the
Right.
normal horn.
Yeah, it's just a parked button press type
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah,
Funny, haha.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of it. So yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, taking away features is never fun. So.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not removing it from existing cars because that would be really, really lame.
That would just be mean. This is clearly cost cutting. I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure there's some people who will be upset, and they will probably still purchase the car anyways.
Yeah.
But it still sucks for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
My only kind of analogy I could think of would be maybe pet mode. Like if they got rid of pet mode.
That would be horrible.
Pet
'cause
mode
I know,
has like a decent function.
I know a
Yeah.
lot of people who use that.
Oh,
Yeah.
so people actually use that. Oh,
Yeah.
well, then never mind.
Pet mode
Pet mode's awesome.
is when you leave your car in a parking lot with your pet in it. It keeps the AC on and keeps the temperature
Yeah.
on. And
I
the
felt like
little
that's
thing on the
super
screen.
useful.
Yeah,
Cool.
the thing on the screen might be the most beneficial part because
Yeah.
then you're also like,
So nobody
hey,
breaks
my
the
dog is not
window.
dying in this car. Yeah.
Right. Pet mode, good utility. You know, games, it's good utility too to like burn some time. I just feel like every time I was at a supercharger, I never saw anyone doing it.
Yeah.
Everyone would be on their phone. And the phone's hooked up to the Bluetooth of the car anyway, so you're just on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of people who use it.
Yeah.
I would be.
We should do a poll.
If I was
There
using
are dozens.
superchargers, if I was using superchargers all the time and I had Steam on it, I would definitely just download some game that like each checkpoint would only take 10 to 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
I would do
Binding
that
of Isaac.
every single time.
Unless you're good at it. All right. We got to talk really quick about the Sonos headphones
they exist.
because wow,
They exist.
we haven't
What? You have them?
haven't had
This
these
whole
for, like,
time,
a
just
month and a
off
half.
camera, you guys haven't known this, but look at that. We've had them for a couple weeks now. Yeah, they're. Here's what I can say because I haven't reviewed them yet, and there is a separate time where that will come.
So I wanted the case,
Oh, I was
not
going to
the
hand you the
headphones.
headphones. They are $450, right? So Sonos, they've made these very premium speakers and sound bars in the past, and I think they have such a good reputation. Oh, magnets. Yeah, you got to love the magnets.
That's a great design.
The case, which you guys are admiring, has like they come in black or white, and they have this like felt, not microfiber, but like a soft recycle-y type of feel.
The colors and case remind me a lot of the Microsoft Surface headphones. They're almost the same color and materials.
Very similar. This is the matte black. There is also a matte white, which I think looks just like the Surface matte white as well. They're plastic. They're lighter weight. They get compared a lot to AirPods Max because they're expensive Bluetooth headphones.
I think they kind of look like it from the side.
Really?
Yeah, there's been there's pictures of people wearing them, and it has I think they kind of looks like AirPods Max with the like Sony headband.
Huh.
There's not Johnny Ive tweeted about them. He said the Sonos app died so the AcePods Max could live.
Yeah, the Sonos app has gotten so much flack lately. You know, it's got the removable ear cups and everything. Like they're very solid fundamentally. They have active noise cancellation. They have some controls on them. They have an on-off button. Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah, they have
Pretty
USB-C.
USB-C on them.
Yeah.
And they're much lighter. They're plastic. They're a lot lighter than AirPods Max, so they feel closer to like the Sonys or the Bose.
Yeah.
They don't fold. So if you want to travel with them, you'll need this case right here. At least they have a case and an on-off button, so they're easier to travel with. But you'll need this case right here, which has this little cleverly magnetizing cable holder.
They don't even spin the right way, like the XM5s.
They don't fully spin, yeah.
Well, but usually they spin into you, so the cushion's on your chest when you spin them in. These spin out.
Yeah.
Right? I'm doing this
No,
right?
yeah, you're right. It's the right side. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they're fine. I mean, I have a lot more to say about actually using them. I've gone a couple flights with them. I think they have some other interesting features that I haven't been able to talk about yet, but at least people now know they exist. People have been wondering, is Sonos going to make headphones for like years now because of how good the sound bars are? Yeah, of course they are. And they're entering at the top of the market at $450. So people are very curious about this type of thing. So review coming soon. I'll put it that way.
All right.
That's it.
Sweet.
That's it.
There you go.
Cool. Well,
Segue. Trivia.
all right.
Great segue.
Nice. Thank you. I wrote
Also,
both of my answers already.
Miles is going to Wawa right now if anyone wants anything.
I'm good.
Listeners,
Anyone?
Wawa?
Anything from Wawa?
Cool.
Good. Okay.
Put your orders in the comments.
Yeah. Put your Wawa orders in the comments, please.
Damn, now I really want to read the Wawa orders in the comments.
I need a pen.
Sorry, I had two.
Okay. While David gets a pen,
I have one.
not doing the printer question, but if you know it, put it in the comments.
Wait, say it one more time.
What component sits between the ink supply pump and the ceramic crystal in an inkjet printer?
What's a ceramic crystal?
I don't know what the ceramic crystal.
The ceramic crystal is. Are you familiar with like how quartz clocks works? It's sort of similar to a quartz clock. It does ultrasonic vibrations, helps get the ink flowing to the head.
Nope.
The jet head. Anyway, the real question: the first ever industrial robot, Unimate, worked at a General Motors production line in what United States state?
I think this is going to be a trick question.
It's
I
not.
didn't- it's
It's gotta be.
it's one where the answer seems so obvious that if I try and pick something else and then I'm wrong, I'll feel like a moron.
Think deep, Andrew.
Deeper.
Look deep within yourself.
Jersey.
Central Jersey.
Doesn't exist.
Shut up, Ellis. Go back to the West Coast
I would love to.
or Pennsylvania.
All right, you're all wrong, but say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
Michigan.
Wisconsin.
And
The correct answer is
Jersey.
New Jersey.
I should have known when you just like
almost
tried to
changed
keep
it.
the straightest face possible that's what it is.
We've cursed 3 times this podcast.
Unbelievable.
I've
Nice.
cursed 3 times this podcast.
All right, quick update on the score. Marques with 9. Andrew not carrying the one with 8. David with 9.
When am I carrying the one?
When you're ahead by
I should have guessed it
When
was
you
New
eat-
Jersey.
Oh, it
don't
used to
eat
be when
frogs.
I was behind by a million.
I feel like that's
now
a
it's when
trick
I'm ahead by
Question.
one.
That was a trick question because Michigan is the only state that has cars related to it.
We all thought
That's just not true.
the obvious
That's
answer.
a complete lie.
What do the record player, bubble wrap, the Unix operating system, and condensed soup all have in common?
It's a phonograph.
Phonograph is the device I was referencing, but it's functionally the same as a record
Google
player.
Hangouts.
I was just gonna do that. Drop cam. Google Optimize. Google Bookmarks. Backup and Sync. FitStar Yoga.
What?
Yep. Measure. Timely.
Fit Star Yoga.
Star
That's
Thanks, Google.
wild.
What do we have?
Oh,
Interesting. All right.
I was thinking
one
something
by
like
one.
that.
These are good. These are good.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Interesting.
Marquez and I have the same thing.
I wrote they're all invented by the same person.
Imagine that resume.
That'd
Just
be pretty
saying.
crazy.
it was like the Tinder, right? There was that question that was like they're both both are
I remember
right,
that. I think it was only
right.
two
Good
things,
memory,
but
good
yeah.
memory.
the same. Okay,
But
my
yes.
answer was they all pop/crackle in different ways.
How does soup pop and crackle?
When you apply too much heat, no. When you put soup in the microwave, it gets hotter at the bottom and then it pops.
Oh.
But that's the water.
Oh.
That's the water that does.
No,
and
no, no.
condensed soup doesn't have that.
I'm not going to give you the point, but that's a good answer.
How does the Unix operating the system pop/crack?
Oh yeah.
When
When you put it in the microwave.
The correct answer is all four of these things were invented
in New Jersey,
in the great state of New Jersey.
I'm a bad New Jerseyan. I'm sad about this.
You know what's funny? So if you ever land at Newark Airport Terminal A, and if you walk through that terminal, there's a bunch of like new screens.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
people
yeah.
are like flying in from all sorts of places and they land and there's like trivia questions on them. And every single trivia question answer is New Jersey. So it just says like,
Where do you think
where
Alice
is
got
that-
this question from?
where is this college? It's New Jersey. Where was this fun pair of things invented? New Jersey. Every single answer is New Jersey. And that's what this reminded me
They
of.
do have a photo of my small town in there because we just have this old mill that's very picturesque, and you'll see in pictures of like New Jersey all over the place, and that is the only thing our stupid little town has.
Nice. Yeah.
We need to get Marquez inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame.
We need
that a thing?
We
It
need
is
a
a thing.
turnpike rest
You're
stop
not in
named
it.
after Marquez.
That's
way
late game.
cooler.
But I've written an email or two to the New Jersey Hall of Fame trying to get you inducted because I thought it'd be like a fun birthday present or something, and they have not.
No, you need like a
Responded.
lifetime achievement award type. That's like
Bruh.
I don't think you get in under about 50 years
I
old.
mean, who's bigger, Marquez or Bruce Springsteen?
He's in it. Judy Bloom in the New Jersey
Old.
Hall of Fame.
Apparently, Gary Vaynerchuk went to my high school.
Old. You got to be old. That's one of the rules.
You got to be old.
They don't say that, but that's one of the rules. You got to be old. Yeah. I think that's the rule. Anyway, that's it for this podcast this week. We've talked about a lot, and of course, we want to know what you guys are thinking in the comments. So feel free to leave those below as well. But let us know what other New Jersey fun facts you have. You made it this far on the podcast, you might as well leave a comment. Leave us fun facts about New Jersey down in the comments below. Okay, thanks. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Waveform is produced by Adam Molina and Ellis Rovin. We're partnered with Vox Media Podcast Network, and our intro outro music was created by Vane Sill. I've thought about sometimes being like, Alex, you want me to come on and just make fun of the Knicks?